welcome back to the channel, folks. Right, let's have a little chat about Fallout. I'm not going to do a full season breakdown, but I'm just going to tell you my initial thoughts after watching the 8 hours of brilliant TV that this is. Obviously, this was getting loads of hype last week. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Don't normally believe everything that comes out of IGN's mouth, but you know what? I had a vague interest in Fallout a few months back, bought the game for £2, played it, realized that, oh, you've got to make settlements in this game. Not for me. Backed out of it, watched a load of lore videos and whatnot on YouTube, got pretty invested in this universe for a little while. I do tend to go down these YouTube rabbit holes. I don't know about anyone else, but I do that. If I can't be asked to play a video game, I'll just watch a load of other people play it. So it brings us to Fallout, written by Jonathan Nolan, who is brother of Christopher Nolan. I think the creators of Westworld were also involved with this some way, somehow. Didn't watch that show myself, but just thought it was relevant information. So yeah, saw the trailers for this. Wasn't really expecting much from it whatsoever. Sat down to watch it this weekend, and folks, I had such a good time with this show. I managed to finish it off in 2 sessions. Absolutely loved it. If you're into Mad Max stuff and, you know, post-apocalyptic vibes, this, you know, takes that concept that we've seen so many times and does something quite fresh with it, I found. I really thought this was like pure apocalypse vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you get to a show and it's really about something else. This is dealing with nuclear fallout and how people survive after things have been turned into a wasteland. You know, you have Mad Max deal with that, but it's, you know, it's about the cars, it's about the engine, it's about the petrol. This show is about nuclear energy, somewhat. Just to give you a little lowdown on the premise, we have what I thought was a 1950s America. No, it's not. It's actually set in 2296, this program. I think the reason why things look stagnated from the 1950s is because the prime source of energy within this Fallout universe is nuclear energy. So we never got to the point of making transistors in this show. So with that nuclear energy being such a prominent factor within this universe, there was a company within the universe called Voltec that thought it was needed to build vaults all around America to basically save American civilization as we know it, to procreate. And when everything was less radiated on the surface, we'd come out of these vaults and start civilization again. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily go to plan. And there's more of a mystery to do with these vaults than sort of meets the initial eye. We do dive more into that mystery throughout the show, and that's one of the key factors that kept me hooked throughout the show. Now we have a bit of a background on the show. So my thoughts with this, guys, is just I absolutely loved it. I think as far as apocalyptic vibes go and the way of the land, they get it really right and make it interesting and fresh too. Like, don't get me wrong, folks, this is a hyper-violent, hyper sort of darkly humorous in a way throughout the whole season. But then there's moments of horror, intensity, and frustration throughout. It was a roller coaster of a ride, this show, definitely. It starts off amazingly strong, this show, and it did keep me hooked. All I'll say is one of my negatives is that the last episode doesn't really work for me the same way the rest of the season did. Ended on a good note, ended on a note that I'm like, oh, I'm itching to see more, folks. Where's this going? Let's just have a quick chat about our 3 main characters in this show. It's one thing I was worried about before watching the show is I was aware that we do follow 3 main characters, and I was a bit worried that, you know, it would become a bit muddled. Is that too much to follow? But I'm glad to report that they handle the 3 main characters really well, and their converging storylines along the way, along the season, work out really well. Our main character is played by actress Ella Purnell. She plays Lucy, which is one of the vault dwellers. So after the initial war that, bear in mind, only took 2 hours, folks. After the 2-hour nuclear disaster, everyone goes in the vaults everyone starts this process of civilization down under. And she is one that has been born into vault life. So she is very naive when it comes to the outside world and the lay of the land, you know, upstairs out of the vault. Never seen it. She comes with a lot of naivety that she brings, and I'm down for that. So in my eyes, that's like what we are seeing through Lucy's eyes, and we are discovering the same time as Lucy. And I think that really works well for us following the program. Lucy has a father in the vault that is one of the overseers. Now, each vault has an overseer, like a head of the vault, basically. And Lucy's father is that, who's played none other by David Lynch favorite Kyle MacLachlan. There's more going on with his character that I won't reveal here, but there is somewhat of a mystery with his character. The first episode deals with vault life and basically what happens when we get outside folk to come and fuck shit up inside the vault. First episode sort of deals with that. Now, Kyle MacLachlan isn't in it for the entire series sort of thing. He's sort of in it for the first episode, sort of in it for like the last couple of episodes. But you know, he plays a good part in it, and there's an air of mystery to his character that gets revealed somewhat later down the line in the series. Lucy comes with some attributes that she's skilled in, and as the show sort of explains what she's skilled in, you do get the impression that, right, so this is like the RPG elements of the show that they're bringing in from the game. Did appreciate that. It shows that she can handle herself, but she's not like an ultra girl boss that's just going to handle every situation that she arrives in. There is some struggle throughout the season. 2024, folks. I know people love that. You know what I mean? Can't just be a girl boss anymore. You've got to struggle with that one as well. But anyway, really liked her character. I just want to say she has got the biggest eyes I've ever seen. Infatuated. Then we have Maximus, who is part of the Brotherhood of Steel faction within the Fallout universe. I think these are the closest guys we could say that are an army, but also live a very sheltered life. Interestingly, I thought even though Maximus is part of the Wasteland and is very aware of what happened and how to deal with the Wasteland in this current timeline, he also feels sheltered the same way Lucy does, but sheltered in a different sort of way that, you know, this guy is uncomfortable. He's a bit awkward, morally maybe a little conflicted, which, you know, you are questioning throughout the show. There's a situation that appears in the first couple of episodes and, you know, you wonder, oh my God, is this guy just really this sort of selfish and out for himself? He deals very much with, so the first half of the season, he is out on patrol as a squire with the knight in the T-60 costumes, which are the famous Fallout mecha suits. Michael Rappaport, sorry, I'm butchering his name, but he's awesome. He pops up in a couple of things. Very opinionated bloke. He's the knight in the armor. We follow them on a little journey. Maximus ends up getting the knight of armor in a brilliant scene involving a bear, which brings me on to you know, the effects in this show were phenomenal. They do a really good job of implementing CGI with practical effects. And when this situation goes down with the awesome looking practical T-60 suit, I was wondering, is this bear also practical? I couldn't tell, which is obviously a good thing, but this huge mutated bear, it was so cool. That whole scene was awesome. But yeah, Maximus is, you know, I didn't think I was initially going to love him at the start of the show, but as the season went on, I ended up really enjoying his character. I think the way the season ends with Maximus is, you know, it leaves the door open for a couple of cool angles to take in the next season, which I actually can't wait for now. Right, so that brings us on to our third main character and the best part of this show. Walter Goggins, please step forward. Okay. Walter Goggins, to me, has deserved a juicy role like this for years at this point. I obviously know him very well from Predators. I know him quite well from The Hateful Eight. There'll have been other work that I've seen him in that I can't just name straight off the top of my head right now. But Walter Goggins is so good in this show. He plays the ghoul. Now, ghouls are a thing in this show where initially I thought they were just zombies, but they're actually not. So, like, ghouls are what people who are too radiated or have had too much radiation poisoning, that they end up with extended lifespans, but basically they rot. Their skin rots, like bones are on show, the whole lot. They lose their noses, but they're coherent. They're like one stage off being full feral ghoul, which are basically zombies. So Walter Goggins plays this ghoul. You get introduced to him at the end of the first episode, which is an awesome introduction. We actually have Bubba from Forrest Gump bring back the ghoul from the dead, basically, in an awesome scene. This is a character that had me attached to this show from start to finish. It was the main reason why I kept coming back, because I was so interested in him. Initially seems more of an antagonist of the show in the first couple of episodes, which he absolutely is. He plays this sort of bounty hunter. He's been alive for like 200 plus years. He's well known throughout this universe. We also see that the ghoul, was alive pre-nuclear bomb drop. So we see his life up until the bombs drop. And it's one of the most interesting parts of the show, if not the most interesting part of the show. Vault life is really interesting, but Walter Goggins' character in this show had me from start to finish. I can see this character being a bit of an icon moving forward, 100%. I was with him the whole way. Plays a bad motherfucker. And at the end of the show, I was like, oh, let's go. Just to spoil the end of the show. If you've seen this one, tap out right now. When he is about to go on that journey with Lucy, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's fucking go. I'm just so behind him. And all the pre-war stuff is the stuff that made me attached to this character. I don't want to spoil all that stuff, but you know, guys, if there was one reason I would tell you to watch this show, it's absolutely Walter Goggins as the ghoul. Like, he is the emotional core of this show for me. And if you watch the trailers and whatnot, that's not what I was expecting at all. So that was a really nice surprise. I'm a really big fan of the actor, and it's just finally nice to see him get a role like this where he's got something to chew on, baby. We actually get introduced to Walter Goggins' wife in the show. So when he wasn't the ghoul and he was normal pre-war, he was called Cooper Howard. And we see Cooper Howard, who is an actor in that time period, and we see him meet his wife, Barb, who plays quite an integral part of the show, which I won't reveal here, but that was also a really, like, a point of call where it had me hooked. I loved that whole dive into their relationship. Some of the biggest revelations come with Barb in the show, definitely. So just keep an eye on her, and for that one, very, very intriguing stuff. But yeah, guys, they're sort of our three main characters. There's other characters like Lucy's brother, Norm, who starts to figure out that there's something going on with these vaults that isn't quite right. He's like a B plot for the investigation, but also very invested with him. Some of the other vault dwellers that are worth naming. Yes, there was a guy. So there's a character called Shet, who reveals to Lucy right in the first episode that he's slept with his cousin. And, you know, it's just one of them things, like, they don't meet a lot of people, these people in the vault. So I think incest is just one of them things. Yeah, very weird, very weird. He brings a lot of the laughs to the show, quite comedic. Don't get me wrong, it's quite funny throughout the show. Everyone has their moments, but every time he was on screen, I was like, yeah, Shet's funny, man. We have Matthew Berry, who's in the show, not for long. He more or less has like a cameo in the show, but he plays some of the robots that you've seen in the trailers and whatnot. Like, he is the voice of them robots. I like Matthew Berry. He's got a very distinctive voice, hasn't he? My thing was, I liked him in, I think he was in Mighty Boosh. Show that shouldn't be talked about anymore. Very politically incorrect. All I've got to say is, if you like post-apocalyptic, futuristic, science fiction, there's so many genres that accumulate this show, in my opinion. You know, you've got your zombie genre, you've got like your almost period piece, science fiction, horror, humor. It's sort of got everything. And I'm just going to say it right now. Sorry, I think I enjoyed it more than The Last of Us. I know. Credibility, out the window. But I was just more invested with these characters. I liked Lucy. Maximus, I wasn't like so sure on at the start, but I eventually grew to love him. And I really liked where his story sort of ends and how that's going to open on season 2. But, you know, Lucy, also intriguing, not annoying or anything like that. Just like we're following this journey with her and we're seeing things through her eyes. The naivety that we have is also something that she has. But the MVP of the show is Walter Goggins. And I'll be back for season 2. Not just because of him, but a big factor of it will be because of Walter Goggins. Guys, watch Fallout, man. It was great. It was an easy 8 hours. I would just highly recommend it. I think they've made a mistake releasing it all at once. That's why I'm trying to get this review out now, because in fairness, within 48 hours, it's going to be forgotten about. That is just what happens with these shows that all get released at the same time. It's unfortunate, but I think they have announced a season 2 for this, definitely. So hopefully we'll get that one day. And when we do, I'll be there. Anyway, Fallout, check it out.